everyone. Thank you for being on the call today. We're joined by our National Campaign Manager, David Plouffe, and we're pleased to be joined by Senator Amy Klobuchar from Minnesota today. I'll now turn the call over to David.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us this morning. We're thrilled to announce this morning the support of Senator Amy Klobuchar from Minnesota, who has spent years in Minnesota working for change that has improved the lives of families in Minnesota. Before becoming the first female senator from Minnesota in 2006, she was the chief prosecutor for Hennepin County for 8 years, where she was an advocate for families in that role. Won her race in 2006 on a platform for change, and she and Senator Obama have worked together over the last couple of years to try and change the way Washington works. Senator Klobuchar and Senator Obama worked together to pass the most sweeping ethics reform since Watergate, and together they've worked to reform the way our government runs, curb the influence of lobbyists, and loosen the grip that special interests hold on Washington that have harmed the lives of families in Minnesota and across the country. And as a member of the Commerce Committee, Senator Klobuchar has led the way and has worked with Senator Obama on an issue that is so important to so many families, both in her home state of Minnesota and all across the country, and we've seen it only heighten in the past several months, which is improving the safety of imported products, particularly those made with lead. Senator Klobuchar has been a leader on these consumer protection issues, and just a few weeks ago worked to pass the landmark Consumer Product Safety Commission Reform Act, which included the first ever federal ban in our country's history on lead in children's products. It included an amendment sponsored by Senator Klobuchar that Senator Obama was proud to co-sponsor with her, which will ban Consumer Product Safety Commission regulators from receiving free trips from companies that they regulate. It's another example of the kind of accountability and transparency that Senator Klobuchar ran her campaign on and pledged to work on in Washington is delivering, and also mirrors Senator Obama's approach. The American people, in many ways, have lost some degree of trust in their government, and Senator Klobuchar and Senator Obama both are fighting to open government back up to the American people. They share a strong commitment to fighting for America's farmers and working to restore America's rural economy, and have fought every day in the Senate to make our economy work for middle-class families and workers. So we are honored and grateful today to have the support of Senator Klobuchar in our campaign. We look forward to working with her to carry the state of Minnesota in November, and next year in 2009 with President Obama and Senator Klobuchar working to continue to bring about the kind of change they both so passionately believe in. And with that, I'm proud to announce Senator Amy Klobuchar from Minnesota.
Well, thank you so much, David, and it's great to be on with so many people. For those of you who are not local reporters, I know our friends from the Star and Tribune and Pioneer Press will tell you that it's a blizzard this morning in Minnesota, and but we're okay with it because it's not April yet. I am pleased today to announce my support for Barack Obama for president. I believe that the Democratic Party is truly blessed this year with two candidates who would each be a strong president, and both of our candidates offer many excellent leadership qualities. I'm endorsing Barack Obama because he is a new kind of leader. He speaks with a different voice. He brings a new perspective and inspires a real excitement from the American people. He's able to dissolve the hard, cynical edge that has dominated our politics under the Bush administration. He'll be a president who can unify the American people to address the many challenges facing our country. Barack has inspired an enthusiasm and an idealism that we haven't seen in this country in a long time. And from what I've seen in Minnesota, the energy that Barack has unleashed is simply impossible to contain. You look at our caucuses in Minnesota, and I had the privilege of visiting one in a suburban area, which in the past has been represented by Republican legislators, and the caucus room was simply teeming with people. They couldn't find a place to park. They were trudging through the snow to get there. But there was a joy in that room and excitement, really, for people that turned out for both candidates. The caucus turnout in Minnesota was 3 times the previous record, more than anyone imagined or planned for. We saw many first-time caucus goers, especially young people and independents, and the overwhelming majority of them turned out for Barack. He won our caucuses with an impressive 66% to 32%. Barack came to Minnesota several times during my own campaign for the Senate, And even then, we saw the incredible excitement that he generated. I remember the first time he came to a suburban area of the Twin Cities before the election. The line for the rally wrapped around an entire school, and we had so many people we couldn't fit them all in the gym. He came later to Rochester, which again was traditionally a Republican area of our state, and that was shortly before the election. We literally, I think, had over 3,000 people in the Rochester Civic Center. I know by today's rally standards that doesn't sound like much, but back then in 2006 in Rochester, Minnesota, it was pretty good. My endorsement reflects both Barack's strong support in our state and my own independent judgment about his abilities. I delayed announcing my endorsement because of my respect for both candidates. This has been a spirited race, and I, for one, expect and hope that it will continue to be so through the primaries. Both of these candidates are my friends and colleagues in the Senate, and I know that their supporters have strong, heartfelt emotions. As a leader of our party here in Minnesota, I believe I have an obligation to try to bring our party together. I still feel that obligation, and I will fulfill it. But continuing to stay silent would be, as my 12-year-old daughter Abigail likes to say, awkward, Mom, awkward. In my short time in the Senate, Barack and I have worked together on issues that matter. As David mentioned, ethics reform, strong consumer protection measures like banning lead in toys, but also standing up for middle-class families and ending the war in Iraq. I just wanted to mention two of the ways that we worked together. The first was ethics reform. When I put together my ideas for ethics reform, I got a lot of them from the work that Barack had done in the years before, and I still remember as we drove to Washington in our Saturn with my family and the college dishes I found in our basement and the shower curtain from 1985 in the car, that I actually spoke with Barack as we drove across country through Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and Virginia, and talked about the ethics reform, and then got a bunch of the freshman senators on a conference call to talk about how we were going to approach this, because it was such an important priority for so many of us that had just gotten elected, that we should have an even playing field in Washington. That's going to be really hard to take on the special interests like the oil companies if we don't have an even playing field. So that's why that was my number one priority in Washington, and I was proud to work with Barack, and I saw firsthand the leadership that he displayed, and it wasn't an easy thing to take that on in Washington. I still remember one of my first weeks in the Senate. Actually, I gave my first speech on it, and Tester came to sit with me, and the two of us were sitting in the chambers, and Trent Lott was standing up talking, and he said that if this ethics law passed, we could be left in the Russell courtyard with nothing but our robes. And I wrote a note to John Tester, because at the time I was in a double-wide trailer in the Russell courtyard, and said, well, that won't be much different than where I am now. So taking on the institution in Washington wasn't easy, and Barack showed a leadership role with that. The second issue I just want to mention was this the children's products issue. And again, Barack was ahead of his time by introducing this lead ban in children's products in 2005, long before I came to the Senate. But as David mentioned, I got on the Commerce Committee, and on that Commerce Committee, we were able to work very hard to pass what the Wall Street Journal has called the most sweeping consumer legislation in 16 years. And our office actually worked on the lead ban because of the fact that a little 4-year-old boy was killed in Minnesota. He actually his mom went and bought a pair of tennis shoes, and she was given a free charm with the tennis shoes. And that little boy went home, 4 years old, and he was playing with the charm, and he swallowed it. And he didn't die from choking or having his airways somehow blocked. He died as the lead in that charm went into his bloodstream day after day after day. And when he died, they tested the charm, and it was 99% lead. So the work that Barack did ahead again of most of the Senate in putting together that lead ban was helpful and paved the way for us to write the portion of the Senate bill that involves banning lead in children's toys. And I just think it's just another example of where he took on an issue that was ahead of its time and wasn't as popular as it was in the last year when Aqua Dots were morphing into date rape drugs, and was able to be helpful in getting this legislation passed. So that's been my experience, and I'm proud to endorse Barack Obama today for president, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. If you would like to ask a question, you may do so by pressing the star key, followed by the digit 1 on your touch-tone telephone. A voice prompt on your phone line will indicate when your line is open. Please announce your state name and outlet before posing your question. Again, that was star 1 to ask a question. And we'll take our first question.
Senator, hi. This is David Korn from Mother Jones and CQ. And I don't think I want to hear any more about the 1985 shower curtain.
Oh, come on. It's such a good story.
My shower curtains never last that long. But I'm telling you too much. You said you expect the race to be vigorous through the primaries. As you might know, the other day Senator Clinton said, gave an indication in an interview with the Washington Post, that she intends to contest the race, at this point in time at least, until the convention. Is it your position that after the primaries are done, whatever date that might be in June, that more or less the race should be over and there should be a decision made at that point in time about who is and who is not the party's nominee?
Well, first of all, I want to make clear that I believe that Senator Clinton has every right to continue her campaign. I think both candidates have won states and lost states and run good campaigns. I don't agree with those that have said things to the contrary. I think that she should continue her campaign, and I have faith that our candidates will figure this out and that this will come to a conclusion in early summer. You know, I'm not a pundit. I don't know how that'll work, but I just know these two people, and they are very strong people, and they have good hearts, and I believe that they'll do the right thing, and we'll figure this out.
And we'll go to our next question.
Senator Klobuchar, Major Garrett at Fox News. How are you?
I'm very good.
Listen, I'd just like to get your take on the sort of broader philosophical question that underlies David's previous question, which is some people argue, and the Washington Post editorialized to this effect today, that a longer extended campaign informs voters, energizes them, gets them donating, voting, all of which, from the Democratic Party's point of view, would strengthen the party for the general election. But obviously you've heard in the last 2 weeks a considerable amount of hand-wringing that as this goes on, John McCain gets a free pass, and it weakens the party, divides it, and makes its prospects for victory less likely in November. I'd like to know where you come down on that, those two different points of view.
Well, I tend to think when you look at the caucus turnout and the primary turnout all over the country, this isn't just Minnesota, it's about Nevada and all of these other states, that so far that this spirited contest has been good for the party. We've turned out more people. People are excited about what's happening. And I know that people get concerned because we have two candidates who have worked together, and all of their supporters have been on the same team before. And again, to quote my daughter, it's awkward. But at the same time, when you look back in history, this kind of thing has happened before. You know, you look at Reagan and the first Bush. They ran a very spirited campaign, and they actually came together on one ticket. But in any case, there's many instances through history where candidates have run primary campaigns and then been able to come together either at the ticket or just supporting each other. And again, I just have faith that these two candidates, knowing both of them, will be able to do that. And, you know, I guess maybe part of this is that when you look at the 24/7 news cycle that we're on all the time, and I don't at all criticize you, Major, or anyone else for bringing out everything that happens all day. I would do the same thing. But sometimes these things get so blown up. One comment that one candidate made, which is accurately reported, gets reported over and over again, hour after hour after hour, and it seems almost larger than life. And that's just the cycle that we're in, and it's nothing that I'm the daughter of a reporter. I don't think we should change it. But I think that sometimes people get a little bit too over-concerned about what's going on, because basically I've seen the debates. I think these candidates have shown enormous respect for each other. I think when you look at where they are on the issues, and that has come out as we go on and on with this, that they are so much closer on where the future of the country should be compared to John McCain, who's talking about staying in Iraq for 100 years. So I'm not as concerned as some are about where we're headed with this, and I think in the end we'll come together. And I put a lot of that on the shoulders of these two candidates because I trust them very much, and I think that when we're done, the light will shine and everyone will be together.
And we'll take our next question.
Hi, Senator. It's Margaret Tolive with McClatchy Newspapers. How are you?
Hi, Margaret.
Okay, I guess I've got a two-parter. One is, you said that you think Senator Clinton has every right to continue her campaign. Do you think there's any scenario under which she could actually win the nomination, though? And then part two, could you talk to me about what you suspect would be the sort of turnout models in your state, at least, Democrat versus Republican, if you had a Obama nominee versus a Clinton nominee?
Okay, well, I'm not going to get into the numbers and how different people are going to win. That's not really my area of expertise. I'd leave it to the delegate counters on the various news outlets. But I will say that in our state, in terms of turnout, Minnesota always has had the highest voter turnout in the top one or two every year in the country. We've done that a lot, and this is something that I'd like to see change because we have same-day registration. It's easy for people to show up at the polls. If they go to the wrong place, they can just go to the next place with their some kind of ID, and I think it's been very healthy for our state. So we have been blessed with a really high turnout. I think we could even get higher turnout, especially with Barack as our candidate because of the way he's been able to bring out young people. And we had a good, in my race last time, which went well, we had a lot of young people turn out, but we could even get more in that area. And I think, as we know, he's sort of prodded new voters and new people to come out that traditionally haven't been that interested in politics. So I see him as a plus in Minnesota in terms of getting what is already a very high turnout that many states would envy to get to our point, but to get it even higher.
And we'll go to our next question.
Senator, it's Mark Memmott at USA Today. Could you talk more about why now, why you decided to do this now, and was the tone of the campaign any factor in your thinking?
Actually, I saw that reported today, and the tone in the campaign really didn't have anything to do with my decision, because again, I think this is a spirited race, and we will see that continue. For me, I had really, after our caucuses, had started to know which way I was headed, and but out of respect for both candidates, because I like them so much, I had delayed that and had waited to see, in part, to see if there was a time I could come in when I could bring our party together. And as time went on, I finally decided that I wasn't going to stay silent. It was not an easy place to be uncommitted. It was something of a hard place, and between Barack and a hard place, I chose Barack. And again, the hard place is a reference to being uncommitted. For me, I've always been someone that has gotten involved in things and wanted to be part of the solution, and I see as we go forward in this monumental election that it's time for a president who's going to bring change to Washington.
And we'll go to our next question.
Hi, Senator Fred Fulmer from AP. How are you?
Oh, hey, Fred. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I'm wondering, as a woman, was it hard for you to go against somebody who could become the first female president?
That was a difficult decision because I have so much respect for Hillary Clinton, and you will never hear me say anything bad about her just because I serve on the Environmental Committee with her. I've seen the work that she's done on climate change and other things. And ultimately, when I looked at this, I looked at it as who I thought could win the presidency. I looked at the overwhelming support that Senator Obama had in our state. This is a caucus state, as you know, and there's a proud tradition in Minnesota of supporting the candidate that does well in the caucuses or that gets the most delegates. The second thing, as I've already mentioned, was just the excitement that he generated throughout our state. And then finally, the work that I'd done with him in my short time in the Senate, including the ethics reform and our consumer work. When I ran for the Senate, as you know, Fred, I ran to bring change to Washington, not simply to become a woman senator, and I'm proud to be a woman in the Senate. My best friends are the women in the Senate. But much like Senator Obama, I ran on a platform of change, from ethics reform to standing up for the middle class to a change of course in Iraq.
Thank you, and we'll take our next question.
Hi, this is Jeff Goldberg with Fox 9 in Minneapolis. This is sort of a variation of other questions that have been asked. I know that you say, Senator, that in the call for Senator Clinton to drop out of the race, but do you feel that this sort of groundswell in terms of the numbers and all the scenarios in which she can get the nomination, does that in any way factor your decision and campaigning for Senator Obama? Will that be a factor as you perhaps go on the stump for him?
You know, Jeff, you kept going in and out, but I'm just going to paraphrase what I think is your question about does this momentum, I really kept going in and out for me, but does the momentum have something to do with your decision to endorse? And again, I will reiterate the fact that I believe that Senator Clinton should remain in this race. I think she has, she's been a very strong candidate, and I see no reason. I don't agree with some of my colleagues' comments of this past week, but my decision was really based on my own views, that I wanted to make clear to the people of my state where I was on this race. I wanted to make clear to them that the impressive showing and the support and the grassroots work that Barack did in our state made a difference to me. I wanted to make clear that the excitement that he generated across the country that we just really haven't seen for years and years and years in this country in terms of people feeling good about politics again and dissolving this hard, cynical edge that we've seen from the Bush administration. And then finally, it's just my own personal work that I've done with him on some of the issues that matter to me, and I felt it was important for me not to remain silent.
And we have time for one final question.
Hi, Senator. It's Bill Salisbury, the St. Paul Pioneer.
Oh, hey, Bill.
Tell me a little bit about the pressures you're under from both campaigns and also from the folks here in Minnesota.
Well, I think it's a little different when you work with the people every day, and I didn't get as many, I got calls. It's nothing like being in Costco and getting a call from a presidential candidate, but in any case, the candidates themselves, I would see them on the Senate floor. I talked to them. They both were incredibly gracious, and I didn't really feel that kind of pressure as I went forward. I know that there's delegates that talk about, what they ask for, all those things. I can tell you the only thing that Barack and I talked about 2 days ago when I told him about my decision was that I told him that my 12-year-old daughter, who was just certified as a babysitter, would be interested in babysitting his children if they moved to Washington. And I noted that she would only do it on Saturday evenings until 11 p.m. So other than that, it wasn't one of those things. I know that some of these delegates are saying what they want or they want this or that. Certainly that didn't come up in any of my conversations with either of the candidates. In Minnesota, I'd say there were, people would come up to me. I'd say they were more curious about where I was than trying to pressure me. Obviously, both camps, would send out emails from here and there, but especially the last month or so, I think they understood which direction I was going. I've made it pretty clear that Barack's impressive showing in Minnesota was a significant factor to me, and I did that in part to let them know where I was headed so that they wouldn't be surprised. So overall, I haven't had a lot of hand-wringing over this, but more have just look forward to moving on to the general election and be out there on the campaign trail.
Thank you very much, Senator. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today.
Okay, thank you very much.